Hello, this is Rob Pittman reading War Child by Emmanuel Jaw. Chapter 1. My stomach felt empty as the truck crawled along. We'd been traveling since sunrise on a dusty road, and I wanted a taste of the tahini hidden in a box beside me. The sugary paste made of sesame was my favorite to eat with kirsa bread. I looked down. Jal, my mother said with a smile, you must wait until we stop, and then we will eat. Yes, Mama, I replied. I looked up at the sky. I wished it were night again, and the blackness was filled with fat silver stars and the shining moon. Each night when we lay down on the ground beside the truck to sleep, my older sister, Naya Kuth, and I would search for pictures above or listen to the stories Mama told us as she fed our younger sister, Naya Ruch, and baby brothers, Marna and Miri. Tonight we know the fox is on duty in the sky because there are so many stars, Mama said. That's because the stars are like cows. The big fat ones are bulls and the smaller ones are their babies. They are safe when the fox is looking after them because he doesn't eat them. Excuse me. But on nights when there are fewer stars in the sky, then we know the hyena is on duty, and he has eaten all the cows. I looked up at the sky again. I was glad the fox was on duty. But today there was nothing to see except the sun above and the savanna grass rushing past. We'd left our home a few days before in a convoy of trucks and were going to stay with our grandmother in the south. My aunt Nyagia, who lived with us, was also on the truck, and my grandmother had sent our Uncle John to take us to her. I hadn't met him before, but was happy when he told us that we'd soon see our father. I hadn't seen Baba for a long time. You'll grow big and strong with your grandmother, Uncle John said. Maybe you'll even be able to wrestle lions and one day become a warrior. I shivered when he told me that. I longed to grow as big as my father. I stared down again at the box beside me. How long would it be before we stopped to eat? Looking up, I saw staring at me the eyes of one of the four men who had also bought places on the truck. I felt strange. He and his friends were Arabs. I knew that because they looked different to us. Their skin was lighter and they wore white scarves on their heads, and they were also Muslim, whereas we went to a Christian church. I also knew they didn't like being on a truck with us. The man looked at me angrily whenever my eyes met his, and his friends spoke softly to each other as they stared at us while the truck crawled along the roads to the south. We had to go slowly in case we were attacked by the Sudan's People's Liberation Army, rebels who ate people and stole children. They had killed many Arabs and government troops. The man's eyes slid from my face along the line of my family as he started talking to his friends about the war. The SPLA and their Christian followers will fail in their fight, he said loudly. They will remain slaves beneath us just as they are meant to be. I felt Mama tense beside me. Their resistance is worth nothing, the man continued. We will conquer them. It's Allah's will that they are slaves. Mama turned to Uncle John. The best way to fight is to keep quiet, she said softly. Uncle John said nothing as the men carried on talking, and I didn't listen either. The only thing that spoke to me was my stomach. I looked down once more at the box that held our food. It was gone. I turned my head to see the Arabs eating tahini. Is that ours, Mama? I whispered. Uncle John glanced up as Mama lowered her eyes to where the box had been sitting beside me. Before lifting them to the men, she looked sad. We have to get it back, Uncle John said. It's all we've got. Mama turned to him. No, there is no need to fight over food. But the men were glaring at her as she spoke. Keep quiet, woman, one hissed. Anger snapped sharp in the air. No one spoke. Give us our food back, Uncle John said slowly. We have children to feed. You have more than enough. The men looked even angrier as he spoke. And who are you to talk to me? One shouted. Suddenly he got to his feet, and without a word, his friends stood up beside him. Moving as one, they rushed at Uncle John and started beating him as I shrank back into my seat. I could hear Naiaruch crying as she held on to Nyakuth. Stop, Mama cried as she stood up. We don't need the tahini. It's yours. Leave him alone. But the men didn't listen, and blood ran from Uncle John's nose as he was beaten. Again and again, fists flew into his face and body as Mama tried to pull him away. But she wasn't strong enough, and suddenly I saw a hand lift into the air, curl into a fist as it punched towards her mouth. My stomach twisted as she fell beside me. I felt sick. I threw myself toward a leg. I would bite it to the bone, anything to stop these men from hurting Mama. But as I sank my meat into the soft flesh, I felt a hand tighten around the back of my neck. I was dragged to my feet. The hand was so strong, so powerful. I couldn't move. I couldn't hear it. I couldn't move. I couldn't hear. It felt as if a giant were swinging me through the air in his fingers. I wanted to breathe, but my throat was too tight. I could not take in any air. Looking down, I saw a wet stain spread across the front of my shorts as darkness exploded in my eyes. Everything went black.